Hey guys, welcome back to the Mixed Opinions podcast. I am your host, MixedByJocelin, and today we have a brilliant episode for you, so make sure you like and subscribe. And before we get into our guest, I'd like to give a big shout out to Audio Movers. They're giving you guys 1 month free of their plugin Listen To. All you got to do, hit the link below, go over to checkout and use code Mixed Opinions, and they'll get 1 month free of their plugin Listen To. Shout out to those guys. But on today's episode, we got a big name. He's got over 40,000 subs on YouTube, 600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and an incredible 142,000 followers on Instagram. He's a producing legend and a top guy for any tips and tricks. We've got Eddie Beautiful Beats on the podcast. What's going on? How you doing?
Hey man, life is good. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for coming
a nice
on.
little breakup. I love to chop it up at all times. So I'm always down to just talk and have a good conversation. You guys seem like great people, so I was like, let's do it.
Appreciate that, man. Well, I have to say, I'm very used to seeing the shot right now. I see it. Okay. I see it every day on my Instagram, and I love the videos. The iconic blue and the sound treatment. I love it.
Hey, I appreciate it. I try to keep it aesthetically pleasing. So, it's something I try to implement into my brand and the colors and everything. So I try to just keep it calm and keep it chill, but also kind of nice to look at. So thank you. I appreciate it. A bit different
to mine. Mine's a bit chaotic with just stuff everywhere.
Yeah, it looks great. Looks great.
Yeah, sweet. So, I mean, are you comfy? Everything good? You all sweet on your side?
Yeah. I've been sitting in this chair for a couple years, so it's done me good. So
yeah, that's it. We come from the same line. You know what I mean? There's the producer's chair always, mate. You can't get out of it. But for those that don't know, I mean, you're a massive guy, especially on social media nowadays.
Thank you.
And I click on your page and I think like every single one of my followers is following you. So I don't know how much we need to go into it, because I think a lot of people know a lot about you already. But for those that don't, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your story and how sort of you came into the industry and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an interesting story. So I played the piano when I was young, and I absolutely hated it. My mom and dad kind of forced me to learn piano. I didn't enjoy it really at all, and ended up quitting when I was like 10 years old. And I was like, I'll never touch a musical instrument ever again. Fast forward, I'm going into college, and all my life I've been a basketball player. That's what I identified at. Like, that was me. That's what I wanted to do. So I was going to college basically to play basketball.
I saw on your Instagram actually some pretty cool clips of you playing basketball.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Obviously, I wasn't going to go to the NBA, but like that's what my main focus was. Like, I was wanting to play basketball, but while I was in college, I kind of started like going down the YouTube rabbit hole every once in a while of like watching producers. Like, I don't know if you remember the names like Pat Ryan or like Lakey Inspired, or like even like big names like Zaytoven just like cooking up, or like Scott Storch. Like,
100%,
I was very.
I've been watching the YouTube videos for easily 15 years now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Wherever I can, any information when it comes to music, I'm grabbing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So actually, one of my buddies in high school showed me Pat Ryan, and I was like, oh, I feel like I could do this. Like, I played the piano for a couple years. Like, I guess I kind of like music. Like, I guess I could try it out. So I kind of started to dabble with it, but I was like wildly insecure at the thought of doing music. Like, I was an athlete. Like, I didn't really do anything like that. I was very, sports oriented. So I actually started the page Beautiful Beats on Instagram my freshman year in my dorm room, my college dorm room. So I didn't tell any of my friends. There were maybe like 3 people, like my mom, my dad, and my cousin, that actually knew I was like making beats and making music. I was just scared for a lot of reasons. One, I didn't want to get made fun of. 2, I didn't think I was that good, and I wasn't. So I wasn't really confident in putting my music out there to other people. And 3, I kind of liked the feeling of doing it and being able to just create freely without like anybody asking me questions, or like my friends being like, "What is this? Why'd you do this?" Like I was just me, and I didn't have to answer to
How many years
anybody.
ago was this?
So I was a freshman in college in 2018. So this is almost 6 years ago now. So 5 years ago, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty rapid climb in 5 years.
Yeah. So then like keep going, I basically just became like obsessed with growing on social media, and like, how can I get, like, I was making these beats and like they were starting to sound better, but I was like, what the hell am I doing this for if no one's ever going to hear it, basically? So I started posting every single day on Instagram like an absolute psycho. It was just like wake up in the morning, film myself like playing a melody, post it, go to my first job, and then go to my second job in the summers. Or if I was in college, it was go to class, maybe go hang out with my friends, and then sneak into this like on-campus studio and hope nobody saw me going in there and just film some videos. And like while I was in school, my goal was to like be able to do it full time. The day I graduated, I wanted to be able to make enough money from this, whatever this was, at the end of it, and just go right into that, not have another job, work for myself for the rest of my life. And by the time I got to school, I think I was at like 30,000 followers, 40,000 followers. I was selling some beats here and there. So it was definitely something. And my first year or two out of college, I was living with my parents. I was in my parents' basement. And I told them, I was like, guys, I think if I just sit down and give this like full time and I really put all my effort into it, I can just put my head down and work, I really think the money's going to come. And it was coming, but we hadn't seen that body of work yet where I had a full year, January to January, to really put time in. And having that once you get out of school, I was like, all right, now's the time. And I was obsessed, and I was like really going for it. And every day was a grind. And I just kind of continued to grow and grow. Social media was very big for me. I made a lot of my early money as like an influencer and doing like plugins and sponsorships. That was kind of my biggest source of revenue at the
Yeah.
time. And then now I kind of am more like, 3-4 years later, I'm kind of more into, I still do like sponsorships and stuff like that. If it's something I like and I believe in, but I'm really focusing on growing with the artists I work with and trying to work with bigger artists and build my Spotify presence and make money from the music and the passive revenue and being independent, and doing it that way. So that's kind of been my
I,
new shift in,
I
yeah,
mean, it is a crazy thing because, like, over the last, as you said, like 5 years, the industry has sort of shifted, and
yeah.
I would class as like the new age of producer,
Thank you. Yeah,
and where you've optimized the tools that have you've been given and the circumstances that were put on us, especially with like
yeah,
lockdown and stuff like that, and really sort of like pathed a new lane that people hadn't been doing before, that
right.
previously producers that sort of like gained a large following and like respect online had gone and done the traditional route of just
Yeah,
camps, producing, getting here, getting there, having big success in the industry rather than on the social side
right,
of things first,
right,
and then using that credibility to then take them and building an online presence or a social presence, where you've gone
right.
about it in sort of like the total opposite way, which I find
Correct.
super interesting. And you've built your sort of like respect and credibility from your online content and producing content that people love and respect. And like, the main thing is your content's not sort of like, I'm just making a beat. It's like, this is how I make beats, and you're giving back and you're
Yeah,
giving information. Do you see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
that's why people have like grown so fond of you through the years. Do
yep,
you know what I mean? And now you're taking that immense presence that you've gained to sort of like barge through the industry. So totally the opposite way round to sort of like how it's been done in previous years. And I think that's sort of, I think I always say that to people when asking about like my career and stuff. It's like, the best thing is branding. You know, you have to figure out your brand.
Yeah.
You can't just sort of like make beats for people and just hope that, you know, you're gonna make a beat for a Kendrick Lamar and he's just gonna carry you off into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Like that's just not how it
Nobody's, I
works.
always say nobody's coming to find you. You know what I mean? Like you have to put yourself in front of them in some way. Nobody's like a lot of these big time people, they just have their guy or their own team already.
Yeah.
So unless you give them some like reason or some way to see you, they're not just going to be like, oh, let me go to Columbus, Ohio and see if this kid can do it.
Yeah,
Like, it's just,
exactly.
it's just not going to happen.
And if you're not
yeah, go ahead.
constantly reminding people who you are
Yeah.
and what you do, you know, you could have like a crazy bit of success from like one record, and then
Yeah.
suddenly, you know, you think that's it for you, and you're gonna, and you know, it's plain sailing from this point onwards, and then you know no one's calling you, no one's picking up the phone anymore, you know, because you've
Yeah.
not put the time and effort into branding yourself. So that was one
Right.
thing that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of like, obviously I know that it's massively important to you, but like, what is your opinion of producers and even engineers and anyone listening to the episode, like how important branding is for you, and
Yeah.
and obviously building that presence?
I'll start by saying this. Every single opportunity I've ever gotten in this industry or have made money from or have found some success in is from social media.
Yeah.
It's not because like some person in my town noticed me and like, you know, great. If you can do it that way, fantastic. I'm not saying this is the only way, but every single DM, conversation, email, opportunity to make money was all from social. And I'm continued to be blown away at some of the opportunities or the conversations that I'm having with people that come from just me posting one video.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can reach so many people, and yeah, does it take time? Yeah, but it's like your life can change pretty quickly with just, you know, one conversation or one DM or one opportunity. So yeah, the branding is everything. And I think I didn't really fully comprehend like what branding was when I first started. I think I have a little bit of like perfectionist in me and have always been a little obsessed with how things look. We mentioned at the top, like the blue and the, you know, I always use like the butterfly emoji or the same kind of like shots or the same kind of font in the videos, or like how I present myself. I try to keep things pretty positive. I'm not, you know, on my story talking shit about somebody or like saying I hate this or I hate that. Like I give my opinions, but it's always a very light and hopefully enjoyable and like a safe space for people to just come, maybe get some motivation from my content. So your branding goes into everything you do, you know, like how you speak, how you interact, like all of that stuff is your brand. And you should really, one, focus on your brand and also protect your brand. You know, you don't want to get yourself into situations that might jeopardize that, you know, purity of it. So I think I just kind of at the start subconsciously did that, but I started to realize the importance of it, and I really do focus on it and try to maintain it now. But yeah, for sure, it's a great point.
That's the thing, you know. That's what I say to the guys that I speak to about, you know, building up, is like when talking about a brand, especially because, you know, it's the one way. Before I get onto that point, you know, there's a handful of cities in the world that have like immense sort of like musical success. Yeah,
right.
It's not. It's not every country, and it's not every town, and it's definitely not every city, you know, like
No.
I'm quite blessed to live in next to a city that, you know, has an immense music industry and is like one of the leading cities in the world for that, you know, but not everyone lives in those towns. Not everyone can live in Nashville, not everyone can live in LA, not everyone can live in New York, you know, London, and the list goes on. But what everyone does have is a phone and the ability, you know, to reach everyone, like most people anyway. And you know, if you have a passion for something and you're good at something and you believe in yourself, you know, you're solid proof that you can fine tune that and create you know, a following and a fan base and a business out of it
Yeah.
that can, you know, generate you the life that you want, you know. So
Yep.
that's why I really wanted to talk to you about the whole branding thing, because I think that is like one of the key things
It's huge.
to especially your success, you know, and it's something that I really want people to take on board, like all these young producers, and just and make that like a priority. Do you see what I'm
Oh
saying?
yes,
When
100%.
building when trying to build their careers, you know, just sending an email to all the artists that you know in your area with listen to
Yeah.
these beats is just not going to cut it, you know, like it's not
No, I
interesting.
think, sorry to cut you
No,
off, but
please.
I just had this thought where it's like, as producers and as musicians, like our job, like we want to provoke an emotion in somebody so they continue to listen to the music.
Hmm.
I try to provoke emotion with my brand and with the videos that I put out.
Exactly.
Like if I'm motivating somebody, that emotional connection that maybe some kid from the middle of Sweden or India has with a video is what keeps him coming back. It oftentimes might not be if the kid even likes my music. He probably never listens to my music, but he might like the message I have to say or how my videos make him feel. So
A
I think
hundred
that's
percent.
another big part of brand that,
And I
is
think you
huge.
act as, I mean, especially for me, like I've personally done this. This is an actual story where I can't remember the video, but it was about 6 months ago. You made a video on a beat, and the beat inspired me. And I was sat there and I
Yeah.
was watching this beat, and then I loaded up Logic and I started making a beat off of the inspiration that you gave me off that beat. And I kept
Which is
loading it back
great.
and being like, oh, what did he do there? And I'm like, do you see what I'm saying? And I think that's exactly
Yeah.
what your content like really provokes out of people. Do you see what I'm saying? And like
That's what I love. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's amazing stuff. And on the branding as well, it's like another thing I say to people, and I think you'll agree with me, is when creating your brand, it's so important to figure out yourself and your own sort of
Mm.
like morals and who you
Yeah.
are as a person, and then
Yeah.
entwine that into your brand. Because if you try to create a personality or a persona online that isn't true, 100% true to yourself,
It's
it's
gonna be hard
never
to
going to
keep that up.
last. Yeah, it's never
Yeah,
going to
it's not
last.
gonna. Yeah,
Because you
for
got to get
sure.
on here and make videos like this, what we're doing now, you know, every day, you know, or
Yeah.
at least every week. And you know, if you're having a bad day or whatever, do you know what I mean? It suddenly becomes
People
really hard to put that face on and that mask.
and
So,
people can sniff that out
oh, 100%,
instantly.
a hundred
I
percent.
used to like, when you first start making content, you think you have to be this very like, hi, welcome, like very like out there
Yeah,
person.
animated
And
guy.
like, yeah, like if you watch some of my early videos, you can tell I'm forcing it. And
Yeah,
it's just like I didn't know any better, but it's just like I'm trying to be this. Now I get it on, I'm just like, what's going on, guys? I'm just like I try to be as myself as
yeah, but
possible, just so
that
it's
works as well, because it's like
it
it's
what
a
does,
sense of
yes.
like it's almost like a relief, because you're on your timeline, everything bang bang
Yeah.
bang, and then suddenly there's
Yeah.
this you know, mellowness from your video, even to the
Thank you.
coloring that you have in your video, and the stylistics is very minimal, and the way that you're speaking in the videos, it all like blends in. And then that's when you see when you can watch a video, and most people don't realize it, that they're because they don't understand branding to that point,
Yeah.
but like
Right.
all of that stuff is adding up together to make it why you like that video and why the video does well. So,
Correct.
you know,
You're absolutely right.
and so for everyone like out there, you know, obviously not everyone is as sort of like comfortable in front of a camera,
Yeah.
or you know, has the ability to talk. But I genuinely believe there's a style in content creation that works for everyone. You know, there's very successful
I agree.
producers out there that have very good pages and in a similar line to you, and they never even talk on their videos, you know, and
That's true.
they just
Yeah.
they have their own style, their own branding. So it's thinking about that, you know, like me, I think of my branding, I talk too much. I'm animated. I don't take myself too seriously, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, how can I embed that into my content? You know, and you've done that for yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? So for everyone that's
For
watching,
sure.
you know, I think take it, go onto Beautiful Beats' Instagram and study how he's done it, and you can see, you know, this is like
Yeah.
there's a formula to this, and it works, and it's natural, and it's like clearly in 5 years, over 100,000 followers. It's it's crazy. So yeah, props to you, and well done for sort of like fine tuning it and figuring it out.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So one of the things, I mean, this is mixed opinions, but we'd like to talk. I like to talk to everyone, anyone that's in the music industry, and especially that likes the tech side of things, and is in that, and most importantly, sort of like self-made, because that's like one of the main things. And I saw on one of your videos you said that you mix and master all of your own stuff, and I love that. I think that's brilliant.
We call it mix and master. I do it, but I don't. I mean,
it's funny you say it like that, because because I think a lot of producers have that opinion of themselves, because they don't call themselves a mix engineer, and they haven't gone to mixing school, and they haven't done this or learned on an SSL desk. They're like mixing it, but like, bro, the mixes sound brilliant. So in my eyes, you're a mix engineer.
Okay, I appreciate that. Here was the next thing I was gonna say. Although I don't think I am a mixing engineer, it sounds good to me, and this might sound harsh, but I don't care if like another mix engineer or someone has an issue with my mix, if I'm being honest.
Hey, listen,
like
everyone has different tastes, and
that too.
600,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. I think other people are liking the sound of your mixes as well.
Here's another thing is like, I don't think the average human being who casually listens to music, obviously we are like freaks. Like we are like, oh, this, we hear all sorts of stuff because we are just like, that's what our brain is trained to do. It's like, if you have any background in videography, you'll never watch a movie the same way. You'll be like, oh, that shot was this. But the other average human they have no concept of it. So they just kind of like, and if it's coming through these speakers or the speakers in my car or these headphones, and I'm like, hey, that sounds pretty good, I put it out. So, I have some friends that try to be like, hey, you should use this plugin and you might get a little more. And I'm just like, I'm cool. I don't know. I don't feel like I need it. I mean, maybe if I really hear a massive difference, great. But if I sit in the studio and someone's like, hey, use this plugin, and I'm like, yeah, I hear no difference, then I'm not going to take the time to learn the plugin and put it on.
Of course. And I think the main thing is, and this again, I say this with I teach, I do like a one-to-one mixing course. Where we go through all of the technical stuff, and, I'm trained as an engineer and I've done this a long time. So I see both sides of it, but my main principle and like philosophy when it comes to mixing, if it sounds good, it sounds good. So that's the main thing. So overcomplicating it and trying to do things, sometimes it's never the right answer. And I mean, I've sat in a lot of mix sessions with some seriously credited engineers, and some of their sessions, there's not a lot going on, and they're not doing a lot.
It's like, and I would hate for a mix, in the process of a mix, to slow down the release of the song.
Of course.
Like, what's the point of me, trying so hard to get this mix right, when it's like, I would much rather have a release this Friday and get a song out every week or 2 weeks with the artist I'm working with than
100%.
Me being like, no, the mix ain't right, bro. The mix ain't right. Like, let me go check it out. And it's like, what are we doing? I remember my mom. The
idea behind it is, you're producing, you've made a record that you like, and then, a lot of people, they don't have the confidence or the know-how to sort of like get that record to where it feels finished. If you do, then you should do it, and then and if you don't, then that's the role that a mix engineer comes in, and that's all we should be doing, is just making that record right for you. In my last episode, I had David Young and Kim on, who's Nas's and Hit Boy's engineer, and he was telling me a story when he was just an assistant. He was just tracking for James Blake, and they did a song, coloring something, I can't remember off the top of my head, but in the session he did a little rough mix, and James was like, this is brilliant, and it made the album. And that was it. It was just a rough mix in the session whilst he was tracking him playing the piano. And that was his first credit as a mix engineer. So, and, and skyrocketed. So this is it. I think a lot of people are overthinking this kind of thing,
don't let it hold you back. Don't let that
and then you end up with and I know all the producers that are listening to this right now, I'm speaking facts. You've got thousands of beats on your hard
Yeah.
drive that have never seen the light of day because you're like, oh, the mix don't sound right or whatever, or you're just stunting. Like that's,
Yeah.
you gotta, push through that. But on that
I agree.
topic, obviously, you do still mix, right? So,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I wanted to know your process behind that a little bit. So,
Sure.
are you sort of separating the production process to the mixing process, like i.e. doing them in two different sessions, taking time away from making the beat and then finishing the mix? Or are you doing it whilst you're creating and just doing it all on the fly and just working in one sort of like fluid session?
I think it's a little bit of both. So whenever I rarely just like make beats to make beats. It's always has to have some sort of end goal where I'm like an artist is in my studio or it's for somebody. So oftentimes the artist will come to my studio. I will find a loop, find a melody we like, and then I'll just like we'll actually get the concept to the melody. So it's like, okay, let's write what about this concept? Great. The artist will write it and we'll actually have them lay down the hook over just the melody. Then I'll build out some drums. And yeah, I think I am kind of mixing a little bit like, hey, a little bit of reverb here or some delay on this or some that on this. But I have a vocal preset for the artist I work with the most, Young Crusha, and it works for him. We throw it on, he records, the vocals go in. And once everything, drums, melody, and vocals is in there, I just sit there and level stuff. Maybe I'm like, I put too much reverb on that guitar, pull that down a little, or, I just level it till it's all hitting at like minus 60 B. I smack my master chain on there, and then I'm like, I email it to the artist same day. Like we record this. Maybe I go out in my car, and if it's sitting in the car, I email it to them, and then they upload it, and it's ready to go.
Wow.
That's it. And then maybe that's a mortal sin in the mixing engineer world, but that's
I
how
don't
I
think
do
so
it.
at all. I don't think so at all.
Yeah.
As I was saying, it's different for everyone. The process is different, and
Yeah.
and even just individually, every mix engineer, has different processes. I know mix engineers, fantastic mix engineers that will mix it 40 minutes flat, send it off, and that works for them. Me, I like to sort of separate things a little bit, take a bit of time, rest my ears, XYZ. But that's just
Yeah.
my personal workflow.
Yeah.
Everyone's different. But I think that's a testament to the new age of making music. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so accessible for everyone now.
Yeah.
You can get a laptop, you can get a little MIDI keyboard, a cheap microphone, and you can be making full songs and releasing them,
Yeah.
and as quick as in a day, like you're saying, like people can really do this now, and there's minimal friction there.
And I think some of it goes back to some of that branding and some of that like provoking emotion we talk about. I always give the example. Me and my parents, like when I was a little kid sitting in the back seat, we used to listen to the radio. When you're going through like cells, it's coming through real crackly. It didn't matter how clear that song was coming to the radio. If it was Whitney Houston, my mom's going to sing it at the top of her lungs because she has that emotional connection to Whitney Houston. I promise you, Taylor Swift could put out a track mixed by a 4-year-old and people would
will
still
love
love
it
it
100%
because they love Taylor Swift.
Yeah, as long as
Yeah.
the song's right, 100%, and
Like-
and it's works for the and if the mix works for the song, like
Right.
Kurt Cobain on the Nirvana record, they recorded this one tune. He was laying down. It was on this crappy little microphone,
Yeah.
laying on a sofa, just a demo, and then they re-recorded that song countless times, but they just couldn't recapture that vibe, so they ended up just throwing that 2-track out of the recording of him just
Yeah.
playing his guitar and singing all into one microphone, like
Yeah.
and that's
It's
on the
amazing.
album, and it's like it's total classic. So
Yeah, and I think I don't want to get anybody thinking that like it's like, oh, do it as fast as possible. If you enjoy and you love the art of taking time on a mix and making it sound to what you think is perfect, you should do that. You
Yeah.
should not, just because I do this fast does not mean that you should be like, oh, I'm wasting my time. No, it's still your art, and mixing
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
an art. So it should be how you enjoy to do it and what you feel best about.
Yeah.
To an extent, obviously, if you're taking weeks and months and you are actually holding yourself back because you're letting your perfectionism affect your progress, then you might have an issue. But if you love to take time on mix, do it. It's your art. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this should be one way or the
And
other,
if you
but
prefer to send it to someone else, a lot of
yeah,
people are sort of like, if I make a record, I might send it to one of my friends, and my friends are
yeah,
producers and engineers. They like to send it to me because sometimes it's like, let me just get a fresh pair of ears on this, let you
that's
do
big
the
too.
thing, and then, a lot of the time we end up bringing elements of the song out that you might not have even heard. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So there's work processes and workflows for everyone. It's just making sure you spend the time to figure out what yours is. And the main thing is, don't let those processes get in your way of
Yep,
releasing the music. Like
and
that's the main
enjoy
thing
it.
that's credible to your success. Do you see what I'm saying? You would sit
Absolutely.
down, make your videos, make your beats, record your songs, do your mixes, and everything that you're doing, you're creating and putting out to the world. Do you see what I'm saying? On a consistent basis, and it's
Right.
grown to the point where you are now. So that again, this is why I wanted to have you on so badly. Do you know what I mean? Because I just think you are a real inspiration to so many. I know
Thank you.
personally so many guys that are such good producers, such good songwriters, and even engineers, and they just, they're just holding themselves back, and it might
Yeah.
be like every 6 months they're putting something out, and I'm like, bro, you got to put a lot more time in, man. You got to be doing
Yeah.
this like week in and week out. But
Yeah.
on the mixing thing, just a little bit, like, to give the listeners a bit of an insight to sort of like the stuff that
Yeah.
you use. Can you give me, and I mean, it doesn't have to be mixing, it can be producing as well, but your 3 plugins you can't go without, like, at the moment, like, what's the 3 plugins that
Ooh.
you're constantly reaching for?
um, I put Valhalla Vintage Verb on like everything.
Same.
I,
It's
I
there.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It just has
That's
the sound of the industry at the moment. I think it's like,
yeah.
I try to put a different reverb on. I use a couple different reverbs, but I'm like, but it just doesn't sound like 23.
Yeah.
Like Valhalla is
Right.
like 23. It's just like what that
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like. Everyone's got it on their
I
mixes.
I love it.
Yeah.
I tend to put too much. I always have to go back into a mix and take stuff off of it.
Yeah.
That is a big one. Let's see what else I use. As far as I'll give a VST as well. I think Serum's a really good VST.
Yeah.
I think I like being able to like have different presets and stuff like that. I'm definitely gonna forget like a bunch of plugins that I like. This is like when someone asks you your favorite song and you're just like, well,
Shit.
let me think. You know what plugin I did really like, and I never really had like a real auto-tune plugin, but there's a plugin by Slate Digital called Metatune,
Yeah, I've
which
used Metatune. Yeah.
I think it's solid. I use it on probably every song I have out. It's the auto tune or the tuning on all the vocals. I also have tried out Waves Tune recently as just kind of like a different feel. I've kind of liked that. And then the Fab Filter EQs I think are awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Pro
Well, FabFilter
Q3.
is the staple in, like, it's in every
Yeah.
mix engineer's bag. The Pro C2 L, the limiter, and the Pro Q3 are like, the
Yeah.
you got to be using those for like vocal correction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the on
Yep.
the Metatune from Slate, I do like that autotune because it does that sort of like, it's like a double or chorus like widening thing,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
find that really unique. I've never seen that on a. I might be wrong. Probably people in the comments gonna be at me, but I've never seen that on like a auto tune plugin, and I did kind of like it, especially for like choruses and stuff like that. You can kind of get a bit of width with the auto tune, which is kind of crazy, and I do,
Yeah.
and a much different sound to any other auto
Yeah.
tune. And that's why I do like that plugin. I don't use it a lot because it has, especially for like UK stuff,
Yeah.
the UK guys, they have like a very like set kind of sound and auto tune that they like to use.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the trend at the moment. But definitely for like more like, you know, out there kind of songs, more R&B stuff like that.
Yeah.
It kind of
Yeah.
does work really nice. And
Yeah.
I use
Yeah.
it a bit. That's really cool though. That's some cool plugins. On
Thank you.
on the top three as well. Obviously you got your nice room that we always see online.
Yeah.
3 bits, and this could be anything. 3 bits of equipment, furniture,
Sure.
whatever it is in your
Yeah.
studio that again you can't live without and you love.
Tell you what, so I recorded a lot of my content just like on my phone for the longest time. Um, I feel like a phone and a laptop should be everyone's top picks, but I'm not going to leave those out. I'm going to take, I recently got a camera. I got the Sony A7 III.
Okay.
And having like an actual camera has been like so cool for me. It looks so nice. So I would say that is big. I think I do owe some love to these panels back here. They're GIK acoustic, GIK acoustic panels. I just love how they look. I think they're very nice
Well, and it's
aesthetically.
become sort of like your background. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it's recognizable, I think.
Exactly,
For
100%.
sure. And then I don't know if people can see it. I'm not going to be able to turn it, but I like plants, so I have a tree.
Oh, nice.
That could be my third thing, but it's not a real tree; it's a fake tree. But I do like that feel.
I was gonna say because studios tend to not get a lot of light, so
Oh yeah, no,
plants in studios never seem to go down too well. I've tried to have plants in my studio because I get quite a lot of. I can have a lot of. I don't because I have these thick curtains that I close, but I can get a lot of natural light in. But plants never last more than a couple of weeks in here, so I've just had to put.
And you know what? Even in perfect lighting and perfect conditions, they probably wouldn't last for me because I would forget to water them. So yes, 100% a fake plant, but I do just kind of like the feeling that it gives off. So
natural.
a camera, a wall panel, and a plant.
There you go. I like that. I like that a lot. When I asked you, I thought it was gonna be more like aesthetic stuff anyway. So I rate that. I rate that a lot. That's really cool. So, I mean. Another thing, obviously, we've spoken about quite a lot over this episode already, is you wear a lot of hats as a sort of content creator, producer, business owner. I saw you online. You have your course that you do as well, which looks really interesting. Lots and lots of different things, and like all those things combined, make you a solid entrepreneur. And with that comes quite a lot of stresses and sort of pressure to sort of because you're the guy steering the ship. There's no one else helping you. It's all down to you. You're the face of the brand. Everything. And that comes with its own stresses and problems, and I'm quite interested to know like what do you do to sort of like help you combat those stresses and take time to relax and disconnect from the world that you've created.
That's a brilliant question, and it's something I heavily struggled with when I got out of school. I mentioned that it was right when I got out of school, it was this grind time, and I got to build, and I got to put every waking hour into this. And like you said, with this stuff, I could be doing something at any given hour of the day. You know what I mean? I could always be making a beat. I could always be working on a mix, or I could always be editing or responding to a message or responding to an email. And I had to learn, like, force myself to go be social or go make some new friends or go, have some fun. And then I also struggled when I would be at these places. Let's say I'm at a friend's house or I'm at an event or I couldn't relax. It was something I really struggled. I couldn't just let it go because I was like, what am I going to post tomorrow? What am I going to, I have, and maybe it's easier for me to do now because I may be at a better spot in, what I'm doing, but I am able now to be like, hey, we don't have to post every day.
Hmm.
The world's gonna keep spinning if you don't post on Instagram or if you don't get a YouTube video out this week. Um, I have shifted my mindset to be way more about the quality rather than the quantity, and try to, extract the most value from every video and make every video a little more pleasing versus running myself ragged trying to get this immense amounts of content out. Um, and then also just being able to chill a little bit, like I said. But I think switching my mindset to kind of that like quantity over quality over quantity
Mm.
route has been big. But no, dude, it was a problem. Like my parents were like, "Hey, you got to get out and do something, man."
Yeah.
Like I'm a social person. I'm not, but I'm really not. Like I don't drink. I don't like to party. I ended up finding a great group of friends that I can kind of go and relax with. But yeah, it was a struggle, and I just had to flip my mindset to be like, hey, you're going to drive yourself nuts, and you might even get burnt out and not want to do it anymore if you don't take some time to just chill out a little bit.
Of
But
course,
yeah,
that's it. I mean, I think, from the people watching from the outside, they don't really realize that the music industry, it's not the only industry, but it's definitely one of the few industries that is literally 24/7 and,
yep,
doesn't have a clock in and out time. There's no real structure to it, and it is like you got to go, do you know what I mean, all the time, and
yeah,
especially if you're trying to make waves in the industry. I remember when I was younger, trying to come up, I'll be doing a session in the morning, 10 till 3,
yeah,
and then having a couple hours off doing an evening session, like 4 till 10. And then like, one of
late
my
night, yeah,
one of my clients and friend of mine, he's a DJ. He'll finish doing a DJ at like 1 and ask me to come to the studio until then. And I've not stopped. And that would be like, 5, 6 times a week, every week
right,
for years, And so that's why I like to ask the question, because I do genuinely think it's super important and is something that kind of gets overlooked sometimes, is like balancing that work life and, remembering that, it's easy because we do something that we love for it to sort of like
yeah,
totally consume our lives, but how
yep.
it can quickly become a job if you don't sort of like take that time and create that separation. So, like, what sort of stuff do you get up to like outside of the studio? Like, do you have any hobbies or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So like I said, I played basketball for my entire life. So I don't play as much anymore, but I try to get out, once a week and just play some rec league stuff. But a big thing for me is I've really like to like work out, like lift weights. So that's an every morning thing for me. I try to get up pretty early and get that going. And then I do like to I go to church with my friends or maybe like dinners, and then just keep it simple. Watch some sports, but
Yeah.
and then I like to be close with my family. I spend, I'll get dinner with my mom and dad, or I really try to put some time into that as well. But nothing too crazy. I keep it pretty simple for
Yeah,
the
but
most part.
that's important though, it's important.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah,
your work life and what you do online and your kind of impact is at that crazy level. So
yeah.
it's nice to sort of like, take that time and just do some like regular shit, and just chill
Yeah.
and do, what you've loved and what you've always loved. So
This
yeah, I
is
find
kind
that
of
really
like
cool.
another underrated part of it, but I I want to say this in a way to where it doesn't make my family or my friends sound like bad people. They're not, but like they don't really they give a shit, but they don't really give a shit about my music stuff. Like none of them are like fans, or like none of them like even know enough about music to be like, "Oh, what was the thought behind this song?" Or like, I don't even
Yeah.
know if my mom watches my videos. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice to like be around people, and I don't take offense to it at all. Like, I'm glad they don't really care that much. They obviously want care to the point where they want me to do well, but none of them are like really tapped into what I'm
A
doing.
hundred
So it's
percent.
like,
I,
like
I
it
I I
doesn't
have the
even
same thing over here. Like my girlfriend
yeah.
hasn't got a clue about any of the artists that
Yeah.
I work with, any of the songs that I
Yeah.
come out with. But she'll just be like, as long as you're doing okay, that's all that
Yeah.
matters, And I find that so funny because
Right.
she'll go out with her friends, and I might have done a record with like a big artist or something like that, and they'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, he's done this," and I don't even know who that person is. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
it's but
It's nice.
I do like that, I do like that, and I think that's
Yeah.
cool because when you come in and you just want to switch off for the evening, you don't want to be talking
Yeah.
about XYZ and this and that and answering questions that you
Yeah.
don't even really know or care to answer for. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
really cool. So off the back of that,
Mhm.
and we've spoken about a lot about where you've come from and what you do and how and how you've built this career. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like, what's next for Beautiful Beats?
That's a great question. I just want to continue to grow and continue to build in the areas that I'm most passionate about. So I've really found a new joy. I didn't start even posting music on Spotify for real till 2023. I've really found a love in that,
Hmm.
and working with some of the artists that I work with. So I guess my goal would be to be working with those same artists and continue to help them build, but also to be working with some bigger artists, maybe get some bigger artists that I guess you'd call them, I hate the word placements, but I guess some placements with some
Yeah,
artists.
that's what it is, though. That is the
Yeah,
technical term. So
like I don't feel like I like want it so bad, but like it would be cool. It'd be like another opportunity, something that I haven't done yet, to do that. And then I think I'll always make content. I think there's still maybe another level I can take it to, or find another little niche that I can, kind of excel in. But I guess just continue doing my thing.
mm,
If I ever get to a point where it's like, um, maybe I don't have to make as much content and I can just focus on the music itself, that would be really nice. So I guess my 10-year goal would probably be I'm literally just making music and living off my like music revenue and streaming, maybe not doing as much content. I would love to just have a couple sessions a day, get some songs out every week, be able to shut my phone off,
yeah,
be able to shut everything off, spend
disconnect.
time with my family at night, and then wake up and make some more music. I would love to have like a team around me to where it's like all I have to do is make the music and the content is just coming out from that process and kind of
Well,
being
that was one of the
documented.
things I was going to say. I think you'll be surprised how quickly, with the trajectory that you're taking, how quickly that sort of thing can come if you're clever with how you keep structuring your business and how you keep growing it. That
For
is sort
sure.
of the next thing, and it's taking those risks as well. Like, it's like you might not feel like you're quite ready, but then doing it,
Yeah.
suddenly you're like, oh my God, it was so beneficial. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like when I speak to other entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Because outside of music, I have a serious passion for business and business growth. And that's
Same.
one of the
Yeah.
things that always comes up. It's like I put off getting employees for so long and getting someone to
Mm.
help me because they didn't think that they needed it, or they were too
Yeah.
controlling over stuff. But like as soon as they did, it just opened up so many more avenues for them and like freed things
Yep.
up and parts of your brain that you don't realize that need that
Yeah.
time and space.
Getting getting an editor for my YouTube was like one of the best decisions I ever made because you're
Exactly.
right. It just took a ton of time off or gave a ton of time back to me that I wasn't spending on, editing YouTube videos. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure who the next person in the team is at this point, and I'm not sure I really need it yet. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a major
But
major
that's how
thing.
you grow,
That
and
is that is
people can help you do that, so I think that's a really cool sort of plan to have, and I definitely think you're
yeah.
well on your way to achieving it 100%. And
Thank you. I
with
appreciate
the
it.
placements and stuff like that, man, like you're already well on your way, man. Like the music speaks for
Yeah,
itself, the numbers speak for itself. It's just sort of like taking that time now, and finding
I
those
agree.
people.
I've had some like, This is not me trying to, but like very recently, I've had some kind of like very interesting DMs from some bigger people. So
There we go.
we'll see where it goes. We'll see where
Well,
it
I'm
goes.
I'm keeping an eye on the page. Then I'm waiting for it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then similar sort of question. But I like to sort of I like to sort of ask this question to sort of wrap
Yeah,
it up, and it's like a 2-in-1 thing. It's like
sure.
speak if you had the opportunity to sort of speak to yourself when you
Mhm.
first started. What advice would you give yourself now, and also at the same time to all the young producers and guys that are trying to, make a wave and make a name for themselves in the industry?
Um, I saw a quote the other day, and it was like, I think I was the person that I needed. You know what I mean? Like who I was back then. If I had somebody like me, I try to be that person. Like somebody like me could look up to and get what they needed. But I think I would just say, just keep showing up. Like literally, just be in the room. Like get in the room, do
Hmm.
something to benefit you. You're gonna have dog shit days where you weren't productive, days where you were productive, days when things went right, days when things went wrong. But as long as your trajectory is like this and you end up somewhere up here, that's all that matters. And I also would say, like, you're never going to feel constantly motivated.
No.
Like I told you, I haven't been motivated to sit down and make a beat by myself for probably a year. Like I don't know. It lost its flair to me. It's
I
like I
think
know
that
what I'm
would
gonna
come as a
do.
massive shock to your followers, though, because it definitely doesn't come across like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But working with artists, I get excited
Yeah.
for, and that's when I'm excited to make a beat. So like some days I wake up and I'm not motivated to make videos. It's just the truth. Like I'm not. How could you be motivated every single day? But what I do think I have is discipline.
Yeah.
And that is that I'm, regardless of how I'm feeling, I'm going to get it done. And that's something that the greats, not to call myself great, but the greats do in every sport.
Yeah.
Like people don't want to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out, but I promise you, LeBron or the greatest athletes in the world are doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what I would give. The greats do things even when they don't feel like it.
Mm.
And that's something I try to remind myself of is I've come this far. You're working at it. Show up every day. Be consistent. I think that consistency is such a lame and like
Mate, my
oversaid thing,
girlfriend
but it
hates
is.
me,
It's
but I use that word every single day.
it's
100%.
all it is, bro. It's all it
Yeah.
is because you're even if
Patch
you
to
show
get
up in the sit.
success, you go
Yeah.
to get success, it starts from passion, consistency, discipline, and then the success is the equal of those sum. And
Yes. Yeah.
that's literally that is for every single walk of life, any industry, any job, anything that you want to do in life. If you have those three things,
Mhm.
it's gonna happen for you. Do you know what I mean?
There's so many things I would say to um I want to say one more thing.
Please.
To flip side that um I think like it's very easy for me to sit here and be like, be consistent. Um, but they did a study, and I saw this clip a little while ago. I forget from who, but they did a study of like they were trying to figure out like what makes successful people successful, and what is it? Do they take cold showers? Is it working out every morning? And they were like they couldn't find a pattern in what like the actual day to day looked like, but they did have three things that they found were very common in successful people. One, they were wildly insecure and they seeked validation from people. Like I said at the top of this thing, what did I say? I said I was super insecure
Yeah.
about me as a producer. I definitely seeked validation from outside people. I wanted to look like I was doing the right things, which is why I was so obsessed with growing on social media. The second thing is they have a superiority complex, which means they think they're in their head, they think they're great and they're destined to be great. And they have like in my head, as cocky and as arrogant as it might sound, I really have not many doubts at all that I'm going to achieve what I want because I know the work that I put in from the insecurities. Like I work like a psycho because I, am insecure that it won't be enough. And I always feel like I could be doing something. And then the last thing, so we have insecure, they have insecurities. They think they're better than everybody and they can accomplish anything. And the last one is they have incredible impulse control. So when it's time to either go to the party or sit down and do the work, or when it's time to watch Netflix or sit down and do the work, or when something has to be done and they can focus on tasks for a long period of time, they're able to do that.
Yeah.
And I have all three of those. And if you're somebody out there who you feel like you have those things, you are use them to your advantage, as much as it might suck to be insecure and worry, or you might feel like you're a cocky asshole sometimes in your own brain, and
Well,
that you
those
think you're
first
better
two
than everybody.
things are very contradictory of themselves, but
Yes.
I totally and utterly relate to all of them as well, and
Yeah, it's like they're contradictory, but they're two different things. The insecurities is what you project or get from
what
everybody
you
else,
produce, the outside perspective, yeah.
but you think you're great in here,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
still worry about what people, it's interesting. But that when I heard that, I was like, well, damn, I fall into those three. And looking back, that's a lot of what it was. I didn't want to tell anybody, but while I was working, not telling anybody, I was like, I'm going to make this so big and great that when people find out and I start to tell people that I make music, they're going to be like, oh, wow, you did this, you did all this. And I would get that validation. But I kind of learned some of that stuff through therapy and through some clips. But sometimes it's my own flaws that I think actually helped.
100%. I did. You
success.
saying that is so. I really love that actually, because I've spent so much time on self-help books, and as I said, studying entrepreneurs and looking into it, and I've always felt connected to that stuff. But you breaking it down to those 3 points, like that's so clearly true. Because when I think about the people in my life that are super successful and have done things, and even like someone like myself, not saying I'm massively successful or anything, but I'm on that same journey, that that is definitely something that I can see.
And that's what I don't think people. That's what I don't think people really. Bro, everyone can be like, hey, you got to be consistent and you got to show up every day, but the reason I'm showing up every day is because like
have those.
maybe there's 3 people that I want this like crazy. I want them to think this is great. Like I think Russ said in a recent interview with Jay Shetty, he was like, I got all the success and I didn't really feel great about it. And he was like, that's because I built almost my entire career just so like my dad would think I was doing well.
Yeah.
And like, so I would get validation from my father, who like I always tried to impress and always tried to like, he was like, I built my whole career off trying to impress my dad. Like Russ, like a great artist, said that. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, we all have those people that we want to be proud of us and things like that. And I think that's, it's interesting. It's something that like.
Mine came from having severe dyslexia and like learning difficulties and stuff like that, and never being able to show up at school. Like everyone thought I was stupid, and and then having like the passion for music, and like my mum was always like very sort of like encouraging on that, and like really let me sort of like experiment with music. And then that became in my head, I'm like, okay, well that's what I'm gonna do. And then it's like,
and then you probably have a little bit of that like, prove these people wrong that thought I wasn't smart.
110%. And just like having this thing in my head, like I have to be the the best engineer. Do you know what I'm saying? I have to have all these achievements and all this success. And then at the same time, I remember when I first started and I like got my first plaque and worked with these people and stuff, I felt like a total fraud for the longest. To see it,
imposter syndrome.
100%. And that's the second point. Me in my own head, sort of like I'm not like good enough. I need to all this stuff.
Yep.
I constantly
Yep.
need to be improving. I still feel that now, even today. But
And that breeds success a lot of times,
yeah.
because that's what.
And then this is the thing that I feel like, a lot of people that have a passion for something in life, they'll have those two first things. But the thing that what people skip and miss was the third, which was like along the lines of discipline. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like having
Yep.
that consistency and able
100%.
to put, to tunnel vision and sort of be like, I'm not gonna get distracted. I don't care that everyone's out partying and drinking right now. I
Yep.
am so driven by those first two fears or first two
Yeah. Points. Yeah.
statements that I have to be here. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And do whatever it is that you want to do. So, mate, that was such a brilliant point, and I really appreciate that because if you can remember,
Nobody says it. Nobody ever says
no,
it.
yeah, they
Yeah.
always say the consistency, turn up, exactly what you said. But
Right.
when you said it in
Yeah.
a really unique way, and it definitely resonated with me. I mean, if you can remember where you read that or saw the video, because
I actually think I do remember. There's a guy named Alex Hormozy. He's like kind of a business influencer guy, and he's like wildly successful. And he was just like, he's like, yeah, I was super insecure, and it caused me to work like a maniac, more so than other people who might be, super or whatever. But yeah, that's something
I'm
I
definitely gonna check
always
him
want
out.
to. Yeah, I always. Oh, he's great. You'll love him. I'll send you some stuff,
Mm.
but always something I try to say now that, because that's that saying of some people might have it, some people might not. That's a very real thing, but from some of our flaws come the success. And it's easy for everyone to be like, oh yeah, I was very consistent. Well, I was consistent because I was also, having all
Yeah.
these thoughts, and
And having
that
that
caused that.
having that understanding of it, I think can really benefit you. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, it benefits you. I think having that understanding makes it all makes sense a little more. And I think that's where, when I understood that, that's when I was able to kind of relax and kind of let go, because I was like, well, are we doing this right now because we have to do it right now? Are we making this video because we have to? Or are we making it because we're having this irrational fear
Yeah.
about something else?
Yeah.
And that kind of was able to help me calm down. But yeah, once you understand it, it loses its power. And it loses its toll on you, because you're like, oh, I know why I'm thinking like this.
Yeah.
It's because
But
of
it's
this.
still there and it's still what drives you. So
100%.
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, because that won't ever
100%.
go. That won't ever go. And I think
No.
that's a lot of that comes from, especially with creative people. It's like people, I feel like people use the word creative people and they don't really understand the meaning. But like a creative person is someone that has an stoppable drive to create something for other people, and it's like, and even if people say, oh, I do it for me, not like at the core of it, you don't. Like you do
want
it
somebody to say it's good,
and you need to express yourself, not even say it's good, because some people create things just to create chaos.
True.
Or provoke an emotion out of someone. It could be anything. Like people, like you get people on Twitter that just say things just to get a thing. They're being creative. You know what I mean?
True.
But that's where if you had those things with the creative thing, all of that comes together. Spearhead, like you're just on a path there. Really, really, really cool. I'm glad we got onto that topic, because I love stuff like that. I mean, I could sit here for hours talking to you about stuff like that, to be honest. But
for sure.
And we'll have to do like a part 2 sometimes, maybe next time I'm over stateside. Whenever. Or if you ever get the opportunity to come over here, see. Do you know what I mean? That would be amazing. You totally should, though, man. Like,
Yeah, I think it's time. I'm 24 years old. I think it's time to go see the rest of the world a little bit. But I'm sure I'll have the opportunity.
You come over here, give me a shout. I'll get you in the studio with some guys. You know what I mean? And get cooking. Do you know what I mean? And we can do a part 2 of this. But thank you so much for coming on, everyone. That's been listening. Go and check out Beautiful Beats on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. All this stuff. His stuff's amazing. If you're interested in producing or anything sort of like creative and building a brand for yourself and working up, he's an invaluable source of information for you guys. All of his links will be listed below in the description section. And yeah, really, really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah,
Nice one.
absolutely. Happy to do it. Like I said, I love to talk. So
That's
I
it.
thought the topics were good. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, well, you've been listening to the Mixed Opinions podcast. Make sure you give this a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Safe.